Hello, and thank you for your interest in YSA's MLK Day of Service Grant Program. My name is Katie Reusch, and I am YSA's Partnerships Manager, as well as the primary contact for this grant program. In this video, I'll be taking you through the MLK Day application, as well as provide more information about the program itself and answer some commonly asked questions. So let's start off with a few details about the MLK Day program. Schools, school districts, and organizations are all eligible for this grant. Grantees are required to engage a minimum of 500 youth as volunteers over MLK Day weekend, which takes place from Friday, January 18th through Monday, January 21st, 2019. For this program, applicants must be based in and lead service projects in the U.S. Applicants may work locally, regionally, or throughout their state. We also ask that applicants focus on engaging middle and high school aged youth, especially youth from underserved communities. With respect to program focus, grantees are encouraged to address issues of economic opportunity and financial literacy. If selected, you will be required to report and record names of all volunteers for all of your MLK Day projects. I'll speak to this a little further in the video. Lastly, if you choose to apply, please make sure to submit your application by 5 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, November 4th. Now let's turn to the application. After providing contact details, you'll be asked about your youth strategy, including existing programming and opportunities for youth to build skills to help them succeed in school and their post-school life. Because one of the primary components of this program is youth input and youth leadership, we really want to see how and in what capacity youth engage with your school, school district, or organization through service or service learning. At YSA, we know that many youth disengage with service and service learning because they are often recipients of service rather than change makers in their communities. This is even more frequent for youth from underserved communities. Youth from underserved communities may include youth with disabilities, youth in the juvenile justice system, and youth who are economically disadvantaged. With that in mind, we're interested in learning about how you currently engage youth from underserved communities, as well as what strategies are in place to increase the number of youth you are able to activate in service. The next section of the application focuses on partnerships. Partnerships with schools, organizations, and local leaders are often key to successful projects, as they can lend support through promoting projects, collaborate on resource development, leverage their volunteer network, and lead supporting service activities. We want to know about who you're planning on working with to make your MLK Day plans, as well as what roles they're going to be taking on. If you're planning on reaching out to new partners, feel free to share that with us as well. Storytelling is a great way to share the work that your youth leaders are doing, to gain support, and to engage more people as volunteers in your projects. With this in mind, tell us about how you plan on sharing that story. Be sure to include any social media handles, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, so that we can follow along throughout the project planning process. If you do not have these social media handles, simply type in NA. Because this grant is all about MLK Day, we want to hear about what your project plans are. Grantees are welcome to do one large project where all 500 youth are serving at once, or they can facilitate multiple projects to engage at least 500 youth volunteers. As you share your plans, be sure to include what you plan to do, who will participate in your project, why the project is needed, and how youth chose this project. Having youth engaged in the project planning process is key to project success, to skill development, and to the overall impact the work has on the youth volunteers themselves. When youth are involved in project planning, they're actually more likely to volunteer again in the future. We are looking for grantees that have a clear and feasible plan for involving youth in planning MLK Day activities. As mentioned previously, all MLK Day grantees must engage a minimum of 500 youth volunteers. Now, when we say youth can be ages 5 to 25. We're also asking grantees to focus on engaging youth of middle and high school age, so 80% of your volunteers should fall into that age range. If you're engaging 500 youth, that should mean that about 400 youth should be of middle school and high school age. The number of volunteers should not include the number of people who will receive service. For example, if 500 students are listening to someone give a presentation at an assembly, then they are recipients of the service and cannot be counted as volunteers. Additionally, as required by this program, all grantees are required to track and record all MLK Day youth volunteers. They are required to submit one of the following in their impact report: volunteer first and last name, student or volunteer ID number, or volunteer first name and last initial. Again, we only ask that you submit one of the following in the impact report. If you are selected to receive this grant, again, you will be required to provide this information. So the final section of the application is the budget. We're asking you to provide a narrative of how you plan to allocate grant funds. Please provide us with an idea of what items the funding would be used to purchase, as well as how much funding will go towards each item. We do have a few budget restrictions for this program. First, funding may not be used to fund any staff salaries or benefits, nor may it be used to fund any intern or volunteer stipends. Funding should not be used toward expensive one-use items, like hiring a DJ or paying for a speaker. Additionally, funding should not be used to purchase items to directly donate. Some examples of this would include buying canned items to stock a food pantry, or buying personal hygiene items to include in toiletry packages that will then be donated. Please make sure that your total budget stays within the allocated $1,000 for this grant. So let's go ahead and talk about a few commonly asked questions. So I've received a grant that includes MLK Day. Am I eligible for this grant? No, you are not. If you are a recipient of a grant that requires a project for MLK Day, you are not eligible to receive this grant, as of course you will already be doing a project for MLK Day. I cannot engage 500 youth as volunteers. Can I still apply? No, you cannot. Due to the parameters of this program, each grantee must engage a minimum of 500 youth volunteers. You're welcome to surpass that number, but do need a minimum of youth engaged as volunteers. So when should projects take place? Projects should take place over MLK Day weekend, Friday, January 18th through Monday, January 21st. Grantees are welcome to focus their efforts on one day or carry out efforts throughout the entire weekend. Do my projects have to focus on a specific issue? While we encourage grantees to focus on economic opportunity and/or financial literacy, projects can focus on any issue. Whatever issue you select, just be sure to let us know why it's important to the community in your application. We are a group of adults who are going to help kids. Are we able to apply? No. The focus of this grant is for youth to be volunteering to help their community. Other youth may be beneficiaries, but youth must be the ones engaged as volunteers. If you do have any additional questions, please feel free to contact me by email or phone, both of which are listed on the screen in front of you. Thank you again for your interest in YSA's MLK Day of Service Grant Program, and we look forward to seeing your application.